All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports team. Post game, the Washington football team, they pulled it out 30-29 victory over the New York Giants. Glenn and Ray, Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM, 96.9 FM, Hopewell, Virginia. We're here. Glenn, the fans are celebrating, but should they be at this point?
Yeah, look. They should be celebrating because the Washington football team is 1-1, right? You celebrate the win, right? So when you look at the game in the whole, should they have won this game? There's a lot of things that pointed to that they shouldn't have won this football game. A lot of things. The Giants had a lot of miscues. Truth be told, when the clock was 0, we thought the Washington football team had lost. All right, we thought the Washington football team had lost. They had pulled it out. It's a lot of things you can go back to. I go back. One of the big key moments that I want to go back to real quick is Scott Turner. 2 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock, right? You have Antonio Gibson who runs the football. It is a short day, and you want to go for a pass. Sorry, you don't do that. That's like coaching 101. Look, if anything, you run the football, you run time off the clock. Make the Giants waste the timeouts. Then you can wiggle it down, and then you make Donald Jones beat you on the end. Against your defense, which is already pumped up. Nothing is tied to Heineke. He did what he did he was supposed to do. He would check down all night long, except for when it came to the last winning drive. The winning drive before the winning drive, when the go-up drive, when he threw 2 long passes, a 41-yarder, and then the touchdown into the end zone. Everything else, most of the night, was short passes, and the receivers made the extra effort or yards after catch. So, to me, I think Heineke is a baller. He is a winner, but I go to, again, Scott Turner. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing?
You know how we feel about Scott Turner. What's crazy is we're going to talk about this. Scott Turner isn't the only coordinator in question after tonight's game. But let's go back to the start of the game. Yeah. This is the second week in a row a team is able to march right down the field on this defense, and your offense goes 3 and out on back-to-back drives. What do you think about the slow starts, and how do you correct that going forward?
But you got to play fast. They have to play fast. They have to come out and understand. To me, when your team starts slow, that's reflective of coaching. That's reflecting of coaching, whether it's head coach, the coordinators, whatever case, because you want this defense to never come out. And a guy like Donald Jones, okay, we already know he was a high draft pick for the Giants, whatever case may be. He shouldn't be able to march down the field against this Washington football team like he did. With stuff like zone reads, come on. I mean, his zone reads, you got guys that sink it in on the first play, and he's got showing his speed off. Yeah, he's a smart guy. He went to Duke University. I understand that, right? But this defense right here has to come out and start fast, especially at home, because these last 2 games were at home. And you have to set the tempo at home with your defense. You let defense go on the field first because you want to set the tone of the game. And Washington hasn't been able to do that. They've given quarterbacks confidence, and now you're making a young quarterback have to keep up and chase. This defense is a good defense, but let's not forget, they gave up 29 points tonight.
29. And you know what? The Giants left a lot of points on the field tonight, too.
They left a lot of points on the field. Again, the secondary did not play up to what they were supposed to play up to. And, yeah, they need to start fast. Jack Del Rio needs to get to this defensive line. They need to get a little bit more pressure. They're not getting the pressure that we would think they should get. A lot more pressure. Third down still was an issue tonight. Third down, there was some key third down. They were able to get off the field, but third down was still an issue tonight for the Washington football team. And they need to do much better in that area.
So now you have 2 weeks worth of game film. Like you just mentioned, not enough pressure. However, at the same time, you did close the half well. The team closed the half well. They were leading at halftime 14-10. It looked like the defense started to rev up. Jonathan Allen, big sacks in that second quarter. So what happened from halftime to the start of the third quarter to where this team could not necessarily maintain that momentum that they established going to the locker room? Because I felt like the Giants defense also looked worn down. I know you have to run the football to keep that team off the field, but that's the problem. The defense has to be the anchor. You're coming out from halftime again with the lead, and then you let the Giants march down and score. So what is Jack Del Rio? He's the guy right now, in addition to Scott Turner, that people are looking at like, you're not blitzing, you're playing soft zones, guys are wide open. That blown play, we'll get there, but you had momentum. You seem to be turning a corner, and then is it a lack of adjustments? Is it too much faith in what you are already have established? What do you think?
I think it's a zone. I think a lot of it is they're playing too much zone, and people are reading the zone. If you look at some of Donald Jones' passes, here hitting guys that are right there in the zone. Of course, you had a couple guys who slipped. There were some big penalties on third down too from the receiver from in the secondary. You had one pass interference against Kendall Fuller, I believe. There was a pass interference that kept the drive going on third down. So again, that secondary, not putting all the blame on them, but that secondary has to be a little bit sharper on moving forward. Look, Washington football team don't have another division game until December, till late. So they have to be able to now play some tough teams when Tampa rolls it. When you play Tampa Bay a little bit down the line, even when you play, we talk about Green Bay. When you play Green Bay down the line, my goodness, even the New Orleans Saints, when you play them with Jameis Winston down the line, that secondary has to get better because there will be better quarterbacks, better than Herbert and Donald Jones, that this Washington secondary has to see coming forward in here in the future. And we're not even. And that's just outside of the division.
How you feeling about Taylor Heineke after this performance?
He's a winner. All right. Well, one thing I like about Heineke, he brings the emotion. He's like Chase Young. He's a winner. He's not your typical quarterback that you want in the league. When you think about Heineke, you look at a Baker Mayfield type player who can run and work things with his legs. I even want to say this name, but my man get shot on this podcast. A Tim Tebow is type player. You know what I'm saying? Where he can do something. But he finds a way to get it done, and he passes a little bit better. But he throws a little bit better than Tim Tebow does. But again, he's a winner by heart, and this kid really wants it. You can tell that he studies the game. And, Scott Turner's giving him short stuff. But again, what I liked tonight from him, what I saw, he got Terry McLaurin involved in the football game. And that made a big difference. One thing I don't like is that they still need to get the running game. I mean, he threw 46 times tonight. 46 times for 336 yards. You have a running back. And it wasn't like Antonio Gibson was getting chump change. He was getting some good yards. Run the football.
Here's the thing. What's interesting. Before this game, of course, there wasn't enough film on Heineke. He never started a regular season game, correct? Right. And the knock on him was, well, we've only seen him in relief. But now, first full start, you got to be impressed. And I'm hoping that he'll continue to be impressive because it's a catalyst of getting this team going, man. This team rallied around him in the playoffs, and they did it. So let me ask you this. Besides Taylor Heineke, and you mentioned Terry, who else were you impressed with in a game in which, some guys still seem to struggle, including some of your rookies?
Oh, J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick, to me, was great tonight. Matter of fact, St. Jude, we gave him a hard time last week on Sunday's loss. He came out and played better tonight. He played better. Big on that drive, third down after they scored, a big knockdown ball. He played better tonight. So they put him in different situations. That was good. Humphreys. I'm impressed with Humphreys. Humphreys is a good receiver there. He makes the big catches late in the game. Some first downs. One thing I did not like, in watching the game, Washington on some of their 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, or 3rd and 8s coming up short. They were short a yard. The route came in about a yard short, or didn't go out, and they found themselves in a 4th and 2 and 4th and 1 situation where they had to go for it. Several times they had to punt. But all in all, man, I think some of the young guys are stepping up. One thing I like tonight, and people got to give him credit, Bostic linebacker, did a great job tonight. Go back and watch the game, how he orchestrated the defense and put people in key situations late. He called Cam up late for the safety blitz when they stacked the box, which stopped Saquon Barkley. Defense did stop the run. So Bostic did well tonight in the outside linebacker position. I think it was a great job.
I'm glad you pointed out Bostic because he fell in coverage once, and then he had another play where he got beat. And everybody on Twitter started to post, oh, this is the Bostic that we know and love. I'm like, hold up, he's played solid tonight. And guys like Bostic who, had a change in position, and your young guys, they continue to grow with experience. They didn't get the reps, I don't think, in preseason. And most people on social media agree with that. So this is the time where you have 2 regular season games under your belt. And also, you got extra days of rest now to prepare for Buffalo. We talked about third down. Third down numbers are not going to necessarily stand out for the Giants. It just didn't look like it. However, we saw what was going on penalties, and they punted. How many times the Giants in the second half? Once. And I think that was toward the end of the game. So you weren't getting them off the field, regardless how you want to look at it. Again, plays were wide open. But real quick, we touched on penalties. How do you clean that up? That was ugly tonight. Now, the ref made some questionable calls on both sides. But William Jackson in particular had 2 big penalties. And these penalties that occurred tonight extended drives. So how do you clean that up if you're the coaching staff?
You got to point it out, man. Make them accountable. Yeah, I know they're not like high school guys. You can make them run and do extra things, but they have to be understand it's football. You be playing football too long. Understand situations. Understand where we at. Holding penalties unacceptable. We holding, especially 3rd and 6. Those penalties, jumping off sides. You can't jump off. Don't jump off sides. You're watching a football team. You can't give a team life. As I mentioned earlier, when you start playing those teams like Tampa Bay and the Saints and Green Bay, giving teams second life opportunities, it's going to cost you. Ask the New York Giants tonight, what does a penalty cost you? It costs you the difference between 0-2 and 1-1. And it costs you being the top of the division now or being in the cellar of the division. And that's where they're at right now. So they need to clean that up defensively, offensively. You need to get the penalties cleaned up. They need to clean it up, show film, pay attention. It wasn't that loud in FedEx Field. My God, it's still empty seats. You know what I'm saying? It was still empty seats. It was better than what it was. And you could tell it was rocking at the end of the game, which I really enjoyed. But there was times there that you heard a lot of more Giants fans than you did Washington football fans. And so even the crowd noise is not making a difference. They just got to understand. And maybe, again, that one preseason game that's missed may make a difference. And so they got to clean that up.
Absolutely. Did you think the defense looked fatigued early on?
They looked a little tired. They looked a little tired early on. But again, it's different schedule. Late game, 8:00 game, 8:30 game. So you had all day to do whatever you need to do. You got to rest your body. You may have to get to the facility at a certain time. Got to be around. 8:30 games mess with you. So it's just adjusting your body when you used to playing at 1:00 in the afternoon. You also want a short week here because they played Sunday. Short week, get everything together. And, so they looked a little sluggish starting out. When we talk about penalties, Washington had 9 penalties for 80 yards. And that was key there. One thing I do like about this defense, I know we're giving the defense a hard time, but this defense has always been clutch in the red zone. The New York Giants were 1 for 3 in the red zone. Once again, the Washington football team defense clutches up in the red zone, gave up field goals when they should have gave up touchdowns. And I think if you look at even go back to the San Diego game, that's what has helped this team to keep it close, has been able to give up field goals and not touchdowns. Because Washington could have easily lost this game by 14 points tonight. There wasn't a holding penalty from the New York Giants on the Donald Jones run. If Slayton had never dropped the ball in the end zone, those plays right there, and then the big defensive sack, when Washington knocked the Giants out of field goal range, Washington could have easily lost this game by a lot. But, digress. You win. It's a game of inches. They pull out a win, and you can't take it away from them.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys and Eagles look this weekend, because my guess is I think the Cowboys are going to lose. However, there are many people who feel like their offense is, explosive, and it may be. We have to see over a course of weeks. But let's just say, hypothetically, the Cowboys win. Everybody's 1-1 except for the New York Giants. So automatically, this win is huge because it's a division win. It puts you in a position to compete for that NFC East title. A team in this division has not won back-to-back crowns since when? And now is the time to seize the momentum, the opportunity that you have. So I'm guessing the team will be all tomorrow. If you're Ron Rivera, do you get back to film study almost right away because of what you've seen? Because your strength and your bread and butter has not appeared to necessarily be there just yet.
You give them the day off, let them rest, heal their body up. Once again, short week, you heal up, you bring them back in maybe on Saturday or even on Sunday. Bring him in on Sunday and let them begin to play. If he really, let them watch film on Sunday, and then you start implementing your game plan here on Sunday and Monday prior to going into the next week. Especially, how do I get this running game going? Again, 87 yards tonight. 87 yards on the ground. To me, this Washington football team, if they want to continue to win games, they have to get a running game going because, as you mentioned, people have film on Tyler Heineke. If you don't get a running game,
Mm-hmm.
they can start pinning their ears back and then come after him. You have to get Antonio Gibson involved. You got McKissick involved tonight in the passing game, which is great. All right, so that's something else that other defensive coordinators have to plan for. But when you get a running game along with the powerful offense that the Washington Redskins can have, and then when you get Samuels back along with McLaurin and Humphreys, this Washington offense can be scary. But they have to start with a running game. And that's one of the things. And like I said, Gibson he broke off a 21-yard run, a 13-yard run. So they broke off some runs, and the offensive line has been playing well. They just got to get the running game going. That's one of my biggest concerns for the running game.
So you feel like the offensive line played well. They're coming along, second game of the season. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. So basically, it's on Scott Turner to get the running game going, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, I think offensive line played well. I think they only gave up one sack. You know, when you as an offensive line and you give up when your quarterback drops back 46 times and only gets sacked once, that's a good night for offense. That's a good night for offensive line. He had over 300 some yards. You know, he had time to pass the ball. He had throws that were over 30 and 40 yards. So the offensive line played well in the passing and in pass pro tonight because they only gave up one sack. So yeah, they gotten better than what it was last week.
What did you think about the rush defense? Saquon did not necessarily have the game that the Giants fans wanted him to have against a division rival.
I think everybody wants Saquon to be Adrian Peterson. I think Adrian Peterson set the bar high when he came off the ACL the year number 1, and he went like bananas.
Good point.
Everybody's not like that. You could see tonight there were some times where he didn't have the wheels to explode, or there's a couple times that he slipped. He's still using the planning and putting his legs down. And again, thinking about getting hit because you don't want to get injured. You're the number 2. You're high draft. I believe he was the number 2 overall pick in the draft. I think when he got drafted. So you don't want to be that guy to get hurt and injured again year number 3. And they're like Giants, now people talking about you're a bust. All right, Saquon is a good player. I think he will develop. I think he will get more comfortable as the year go along. And I think when Washington plays the New York Giants again here in December, it won't be the same Saquon Barkley.
You mentioned offensive line. You mentioned the offensive line. Sam Cosmi, your rookies along that line, and of course he had a penalty. But overall, again, as a whole, the line played well. Defensively, your other rookie, Jamin Davis, made a big open field tackle in the red zone. Man, how impressed were you with that play?
I was a plus. And you start seeing the young guys, so it started to make you think. You know what? The Washington football team, Ron Rivera, front office staff are making good draft picks, right? Because what you want your draft picks to play. And you want your draft picks to play early and often. And if you look, since Ron Rivera has been in Washington, majority of the draft picks have been playing, and they're playing often. So there you can tell, okay, they're building a young team around what they have right now. And they're getting younger, and they're getting guys game experience. And that's what in big situations and big games. Hey, you can't ask for anything else. I mean, as a Washington football fan and as a person who watched the Washington football team, we know in the past, Washington did not win fourth quarter late tight football games. They will lose these type of games. The Washington football team will lose, and you dreaded it to go into the fourth quarter and it being close with the Washington football team. And you can see now with under Ron Rivera, there's a different mentality with this team. It's a different mindset with this team, and they believe they can compete with anybody in the NFL, and they want the ball last, and they've taken on the persona of their head coach. And that's what I like about this Washington football team. You can start to see that they're taking on a persona of Ron Rivera, tough nose, grind it out, get it done by any means necessary.
I agree with the culture, with the culture that Ron Rivera is bringing to this team. And it's amazing to watch because under Gruden, there was so much disorganization. So we have to appreciate where this team is headed. I just think the expectations were high coming in. And I think the bar's been lowered a bit. But my whole sentiment was it's going to take a while to gel. You have a lot of new pieces on both sides of the ball, and it's going to take time to build that cohesiveness. However, you have to be happy that you escaped with a win, like you keep pointing out, that you normally don't see here in Washington. So that has to play well on the psyche. Real quick, you touched on the field. You said it was rocking in the fourth quarter. What does a win like this do in a division where there's a lot of Giants fans at the stadium? What does this do for the fan base? It can't help but energize the fan base. I don't think it's going to bring everybody back. Now COVID can have something to do with that. But still, what does tonight mean for your future home games and also for the viewership? I heard the ratings with TV ratings were even down. Tonight's game was an awesome game. I mean, if you missed it, you missed probably I don't want to say a classic, but it was a strong showing on both sides, a division rival.
strong showing on both sides. What I would say about the fan base in Washington, as long as this team keeps winning, there'll be more people in the stands. There'll be more people in the stands. Less tickets off of eBay, less tickets on StubHub. You'll find this starting to get the talk of the town. And you can start to feel it in the area because they're talking about Super Bowl teams. They're talking about the Washington, the 30-year team that won the Super Bowl 30 years ago. You're starting to hear that conversation going on. Is this team here yet? Not yet. But can they be in a conversation? Sure, they can be in a conversation because of the defense. As far as ratings wise, it's Thursday night football. People are starting to slowly come back to the NFL. One thing I said all the time, you can't beat the sun. It's starting to go down a little bit more. They thought the NFC East, based off of last year, the NFC least, as people called it. But the Washington football team and the New York Giants put on a great showing tonight. I think if you started at the beginning of the ratings to show the numbers were probably down. But when you got to the fourth quarter, the last quarter hour, I guarantee you those numbers were up. Because Twitter started talking about it, Facebook started talking about it, Instagram started talking about it, things started trending. People stopped watching Impact Wrestling and started watching, started watching the NFL. So, on the NFL Network, I think also we got to look at ratings being down as well. Is that it's only on the NFL Network this year? It's not on CBS or any other local TVs, and so that's one of the biggest differences as well. That only way that you can watch this or watch the game is on the NFL Network because the years past it will also be on CBS. So. We look at numbers, you got to look at that as well.
Let's talk about Chase Young real quick, and then we'll give a quick preview for the Buffalo game, and we'll get out of here, man. Again, big win, big division win at home for the Washington football team. Chase Young, arguably your best player. I guess his name wasn't called a lot tonight. He had the penalty, which I don't like that penalty, but according to Troy Aikman, and also I was about to say Gene Steratore, who's in the booth on Fox. The referee, I can't think of his name right now. I'm drawing blanks, but he also said that that's the right call. We didn't like it, but anyway, Chase Young gets double teamed a whole lot. I watched that. He got held as well. So I'm thinking that's part of why Chase Young has not necessarily gotten the numbers that people are wanting to see from him. But he's making an impact because if he's being doubled, that should open up opportunities for others, a la Allen, Payne, and Sweat. What were your thoughts on his performance tonight, and how can he get better going forward? Because you were the one that would point out last year his stance isn't the best. He gets too high, and I haven't seen much of a change. I haven't seen him evolve yet. It's only 2 games though.
Yeah, he 3 tackles tonight, 1 tackle for the loss. To me, his stance that got him as the defensive end, he's in the 2-point stance. To me, I would just like to see his hand in the dirt, see him get off a little bit and be engaged with the one-on-one with your tackle, or even on a tight end, pushing him off, put him in coverage. You want to get him, pass rushing, and you want him to be able to be a disruptive in the run force. Was he around a lot of plays? Definitely, he was around a lot of plays. But again, you mentioned help guys out like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, those guys to be able to help your linebackers up like Holcomb. It frees them up when a Chase Young get double teamed. That means there's a linebacker who's free. So that means look at Bostic tonight. Was able to make a lot of plays over in C gap and was able to make a good play on Saquon Barkley when they did the toss out there because people are dealing with Chase Young. And so you, as a D lineman, when he's in a D lineman, he understands his job and the defense that they play, that he may not be involved in every play, but the linebackers will be there. And Chase Young is going to get these tackles. He's going to be a Pro Bowler again this year. He may even get an interception or a fumble recovery. It's just a matter of time. I think he doesn't care. I think he's the one guy who doesn't really care about stats. He cares about winning. The only stat he cares about is that W and making the DC team and making the DC team relevant again. If you watch this team, every team in Washington in the last 5 years, besides the Washington football team, I'm about to say the R word.
I know, right? I did that the other day.
Washington football team has won a championship within the last 5 years. Capitals has won one. You had the W and the Wizards. Take that back. The Wizards and the Washington football team have not won championships within the last 5 years. But when you look at the Mystics, you look at the Nationals, and you even look at the MLS team, DC United. In the Capitals, they've won championships. So that's where Chase Young's goal is, to get Washington there. And if Chase Young brings a championship and allows a championship to come to DC, it is going to be bonkers, brother.
Hey, trust me, man. Listen, I don't like looking at schedule, Glenn. I say that every week because you can step out in the field and you can beat any team, any given Sunday, any given Thursday, whatever. Injuries play a part. You just don't know how the season's going to play out, However, I'm not going to sit here and lie. After watching these first two games with the quarterbacks, you mentioned some of them. You mentioned Jameis, you mentioned Rodgers, Mahomes, some of these guys that you're going to be playing against this season, Prescott. There is some concern. You do have time to correct it. Buffalo is up next. Josh Allen had his best season last year, MVP caliber season, of course.
Yeah.
How do you prepare to limit the Buffalo offense with some extra time, of course, because this was a Thursday night game? What do you do to key in and to get your defense locked in to have a better showing moving forward?
Man, see what Pittsburgh did. See what Pittsburgh did in the second half. How did they shut down Stephon Diggs? How did they shut down the running game of Buffalo? How did they shut down Josh Allen? What kind of coverages did they use to confuse him? Because our secondary have to step up. Secondary has to step up in order for Stephon Diggs. If you had Slayton who got behind him tonight, and Stephon Diggs doesn't miss that catch, or Cole Beasley doesn't miss those opportunities in those plays. So you're taking another level of receivers that you're getting ready to play. And so they have to step the game up each week. Well, I don't expect them to be superstars, but I expect them to get better each and every week. And I think we saw some improvement from the secondary this week. Now they need to get a little bit better and limit the mistakes in the secondary. May go to man-to-man a little bit more. Go to a cover three. May go to two high safeties. Something of that nature, so you can get Landon Collins a little bit more down in the box or coverage. Playing with Kendall Fuller over top, instead of underneath. So those type of things that the secondary has to look into to see how see what they can do to confuse the offense and start fast. Because right now, I think the front four will be fine against Buffalo. I'm concerned about the secondary and what Buffalo has coming in with Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs, with Josh Allen being able to throw the football.
So based on what you just said, based on how this game went tonight, what you've seen the first 2 weeks, how are you feeling about a Washington W against the Buffalo Bills next week?
I think they can get one. Looked at the box. When you look at the box scores, anytime you have Kendall Fuller with 8 tackles, Landon Collins with 7, that means your two guys in the back are saving your butt. You know what I'm saying? They're saving your butt. Anytime your corners and your safeties they have more tackles than anybody else on the field, they're saving your butt. I think Washington has a good opportunity to beat the Buffalo Bills if they can establish a running game. I think the running game is key. If you look at Pittsburgh and their beating of Buffalo, they were able to have a running game, semi-running game, and will be able to exploit their secondary late. And I think Washington's receiving core is a little bit better than than Pittsburgh's receiving core. And I think Washington will be able to pull out a win against the Buffalo Bills. I think the score will be close. Again, I think all these games this year with the Washington football team is going to be close and come down to be a nail biter. I'm going to say Washington wins 20-13.
One big thing, no significant injuries came from this game. Washington football team, as far as I know, leaves this game mostly intact health-wise, which is huge. I also believe they can beat the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to say it now. The only thing I'm concerned about is if Buffalo loses this weekend, then an 0-2 desperate team you're going to be facing. So that could be an issue. Yeah. However, as Washington gels, as they become, like I said, they develop that chemistry, become more cohesive, they can beat anybody in this league. But we appreciate you all for listening. Check out my man, Real Glenn Thomas. Check him out on Twitter, Facebook. Glenn, you can share how people can follow you if you want.
Yeah, man. Just hit me up on
Twitter. Go ahead.
Just hit me up on Twitter at Real Glenn Thomas, man. A comment may like my comments. You may not like my comments. I enjoy conversing with each and every one of you. And I want to give one thing. My player of the game, Dustin Hopkins. I know everyone want to take Heineke, but guess what? Dustin Hopkins for the last 2 weeks has kept this Washington football team in the games. Again, perfect tonight, the one he missed, whatever, but he's helped them out. And again, hey, it's great to have a field goal kicker. And my God, I was saying, like, man, didn't we have Graham Gano years ago? Like, this dude's about to burn the Washington football team. Like,
how ironic is that?
How ironic is that?
That's crazy, man.
Crazy.
Again, yeah, check him out, Real Glenn Thomas, like you said on Twitter. Check me out at UrbanSports_Ray, 1340 AM Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM, Hopewell, Virginia. All Burgundy and Gold Errything each and every Wednesday, man. We appreciate you guys. Look forward to talking more football, hopefully more W's as we move forward. We'll see you after the Buffalo game, man. Have a good night.